Good evening, parents, brothers, sisters, friends, past, present and future students, and those who are celebrating their graduation tonight. Welcome to Melbourne Polytechnic's graduation ceremony for the students that finished their studies in 2019 and 2020. It's finally here! Are you excited? Or more just a little tired by the sounds of it. It's been a long wait. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Ben Murphy, world record-breaking illusionist, comedy magician, television actor, TV host, executive producer, and overactor. And I'm joined tonight by our Auslan interpreter, Cindy. I'm honoured and thrilled to be your MC tonight. Tonight, we've got graduating students from the academic departments of Business, Advanced Manufacturing and Logistics, Food, Fibre and Animal Industries, Human Services and Education, and Business Construction and Higher Education. It's going to be a wonderful evening, which I'm sure you're all going to enjoy. But before we begin, I'd like to ask you all to please stand for the official party procession. Please make our official party feel welcome. And I do ask you kindly take your seats as we play our welcome video in all of the wonderful languages we enjoy here at Melbourne Polytechnic.
We welcome people from all over the world to Melbourne Polytechnic to build one community.
Kusoo dhawaada Melbourne Polytechnic Community-ga Soomaaliyeed.
Melbourne Polytechnic le da la bienvenida a la comunidad latinoamericana.
Melbourne Polytechnic mengucapkan selamat datang kepada Indonesia Communitas.
Melbourne Polytechnic Gujarati સમુદાયને સ્વાગત કરે છે.
墨尔本理工学院欢迎来自华人社区讲普通话的朋友们。
Το Melbourne Polytechnic καλωσορίζει τους ανθρώπους που μιλάνε ελληνικά.
El Politécnico de Melbourne le da la bienvenida a la comunidad de habla hispana.
A Melbourne Polytechnic está de braços abertos para todos os falantes da língua portuguesa.
Melbourne Polytechnic Punjabi community ਦਾ ਤਹਿ ਦਿਲ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ
Melbourne Polytechnic accueille toutes les communautés francophones.
Ayubowan. Melbourne Polytechnic ආයතනය ඔබ සැම සාදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා.
Melbourne Polytechnic и посакува добре дојде на македонската заедница.
Melbourne Polytechnic बांग्ला भाषाभाषीদেরকে স্বাগত জানায়।
Melbourne Polytechnic हिंदी बोलने वाले लोगों का स्वागत करता है।
Il Politecnico di Melbourne accoglie la comunità della lingua italiana.
Melbourne Polytechnic بترحب بالجالية العربية.
از طرف پرسنل و کادر آموزشی دانشگاه ملبورن پلی‌تکنیک به همه شما فارسی زبانان عزیز خوش آمد میگیم.
Melbourne Polytechnic chào mừng cộng đồng người Việt Nam.
I ljudi koji pričaju hrvatski su dobrodošli na Melbourne Polytechnicsu.
Melbourne'i Polytechnic tervitab eesti keelt kõnelevat kogukonda.
Melbourne Polytechnic приглашает украинское, российское, русскоговорящее сообщество.
Melbourne Polytechnic mengucapkan selamat datang kepada semua masyarakat berbahasa Melayu.
Melbourne Polytechnic 歡迎講粵語嘅朋友加入我哋嘅團隊。
Namaste, तपाईहरुलाई Melbourne Polytechnicमा स्वागत छ।
Melbourne Polytechnic welcomes everyone.
How beautiful was that video? Very nice. Now, before we begin, just a little bit of housekeeping. Please turn off all your phones. Make sure they are on silent. And please refrain from using any flash photography this evening. Please take as many photos as you like, but keep the little flash off. This evening is such a special occasion for each and every graduate. Your friends and family are here to congratulate and celebrate with you all. And an important part of this evening is having everyone receive the same respect and celebration as each other. So we ask that you stay seated until the end of the ceremony, even if you've already received your award. And a reminder, photography will still be available on level 4 after the ceremony for those that have bookings. Now, are you all going to be a fantastic audience tonight? Yeah. I'm not sure about that. You've got to be better than the Melbourne Fashion School I was emceeing at the other week. There was a mother standing next to a child who was graduating, and she said, "I'm proud of you. Proud of you." She was talking to a handbag. She couldn't care less about the sun. So I do hope that you're a little bit more enthusiastic. Now, tonight, we are live streaming and filming on YouTube. So if family members couldn't make it here tonight, they will be able to watch live now or catch up on YouTube a little bit later on. You yourselves will be able to go home and freeze frame yourself and watch yourselves accepting your awards. Very exciting stuff. And for those of you that are watching the live stream right now, I do hope you've got a really good connection and absolutely nothing gets in the way of an incredibly $1 million. Fantastic stuff. It's going to be a great evening. Now, please join me in welcoming Uncle David Tornier to present the Welcome to Country.
Thank you. Wominjeka, I'd like to pay my respects to my ancestors and elders, past, present, and emerging, and to respectfully recognise the trauma, sacrifice, and displacement our elders and ancestors have experienced. The choices our ancestors made in these times is the reason why our culture survived, and is the reason why I'm able to stand in front of you guys today. I also want to recognise the commitment you are making here today by engaging in one of the oldest continuing practicing ceremonies in this country, by paying respect to the spirit of this land and the people. Through this, you've shown willingness to honour sacred ground that we all walk on. As a descendant of Melbourne's first people, the Bunurong people of the great southeastern Kulin Nations, I'm pleased to be able to welcome you here today on behalf of Papanada Caroline Briggs AM. You are standing on the traditional country of the Bunurong people, who are one of the 5 language groups that make up the southeastern Kulin Nations. These groups being the Bunurong, the Woiwurrung, the Tanarong, the Dja-Dja-Wurrung, and the Wathaurong. Our traditional country now consists of a great multicultural city we now know as Melbourne. The importance of this land in our culture, the spirit of Bunjil, our curator, and his gifts of generosity still influence this land and our people today. What we have learnt from our ancestors passed down through generations still resonate with us. These include the core values of learning, showing respect, celebrating life, and honouring sacred ground. As Australians, whilst we may come from different clans, language groups, and even countries, we can all learn from these core values. The word welcome in Bunurong language is Wominjeka, but its translation to English is come with purpose. It's also a spoken contract between the Bunurong people as the custodians of this country and yourselves to ensure our laws are adhered to and to guarantee safe passage for those who ask. According to traditions, this land has always been protected by Creator Bunjil, who travels as a wedge-tailed eagle, and by Wa, who protects the waterways and travels as a crow. Bunjil taught the Bunurong people to always welcome guests, but it requires us to ask all visitors to make 2 promises, which I've asked you today: to obey the laws of Bunjil and to not harm the children or the land of Bunjil. This commitment was made through exchange of small bower dipped in water and the spoken words Wominjeka. So Wominjeka, Merm Bik Bik, Bunurong Nam Derp, Baratam Atawulam. Excuse me. Come with purpose to Bunurong country, the land of the 2 bays. This is Bunurong country. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle David. I'm now pleased to invite our Chief Executive to give her congratulations and welcome to you all. Boasting an extensive history with Melbourne Polytechnic and in the wider education community, our first female CE was appointed in 2017 and has been in the VET sector since 1986. Please warmly welcome the CE of Melbourne Polytechnic, Frances Coppolino.
Thank you, Ben, and welcome everyone. And thank you very much to David for his welcome to country. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the Kulin Nation, whose lands we meet on tonight. And for those who are joining us online, I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands from where you are joining us. Melbourne Polytechnic acknowledges the educational practices that have been taking place on these lands for over hundreds of years and to recognise their ongoing connection to this country. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to any other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with us tonight. Graduating students, members of the board, distinguished guests, Melbourne Polytechnic staff, family and friends, a warm welcome to our graduation ceremony for 2022. Some of you have attended our virtual graduation ceremony last year, and how liberating it is to see you all without the confines of a screen. I understand how important this event is to you. In this post-COVID world, I think we all have a richer appreciation of these collective experiences. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to share this important milestone event with you and your loved ones tonight. Here at Melbourne Polytechnic, our graduation ceremony is the celebration and culmination of our students' learning journey. It should be said that for most of you here, your learning journey over the past few years has not been typical. Yet you learned to adapt to the changing environment. You accessed support from your teachers who ensured your learning continued with minimal disruption. And most likely you leaned on your peers, your friends and your family for support when the going got tough. These are the learnings and lessons that you will carry with you for your life. In making your graduation tonight, you have proven to the world, but most of all to yourself, that you have what it takes to thrive in what is a rapidly changing world. Let's be clear, rapid change is here to stay, driven by technological advancements, economic change, a global pandemic and climate change. The best way to navigate change and adapt to an uncertain environment is lifelong learning. As you close this chapter to your learning journey, we look forward to welcoming you back in the future to continue your learning as your careers unfold and evolve. On behalf of all of us at Melbourne Polytechnic, we offer you our deepest congratulations and best wishes in reaching this significant milestone. And remember, never stop learning. Congratulations.
Thank you, Frances. Wonderful words. And she is right. How good is it that we're able to be here in person and not doing this in Zoom? Isn't that wonderful? So good. The only thing is it's a pain to sometimes remember to put pants on. I've left the house a few times without them, but I'm slowly getting used to it. I would now like to introduce Mark Blanks, Executive Director of Curriculum, Innovation and Teaching Excellence and Acting Executive Director of Academic Operations, to deliver the academic address.
Thank you. And I would first like to start by congratulating you all on completing your qualification and making it to the finish line. Well done, you did it. Give yourselves a round of applause. I think you deserve it. So, as this adventure closes, another one's about to open up for you. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. When I was asked to deliver this academic address this evening around the theme Never Stop Learning, it gave me pause to reflect and think about my career journey. I also didn't want to give a stuffy sort of academic address from a middle-aged, bald-headed bloke at the front. So I'll tell you some stories and anecdotes about my times, and hopefully you can reflect on some of yours and see some similarities. My career didn't follow a neat and predictable path that my parents and teachers inferred to me. They all promised that I would go out and I'd get this career and it would be like that forever after. Didn't happen. It resembled more like a game of snakes and ladders with twists and turns and unexpected detours and surprises. My career journey was punctuated by the closure of industries and the emergence of new ones, all of which meant returning to study to retrain. I can almost guarantee that you'll take a similar journey. You are likely to encounter a myriad of changes over the next 5 decades, disruptions that will impact your careers and your working lives. And that's okay. So as I approach what I expect is the midpoint of my working life, I'd like to share with you this evening a few highlights of my career journey so far. Now, many of you may have heard from me about what I've often said is my first job. Today I'm actually going to expose myself as telling a little bit of a fib. My first job, in fact, wasn't related to the tram that you see on the screen there. My first job, in fact, at the age of 13, was a delivery boy for a pharmacy. So at the age of 13, little kid on a BMX bike, I was given drugs to get on a bike and to ride around town by myself and deliver drugs. Now, I don't think that job exists anymore, or I think it might be called a drug courier, I'm not sure. Anyway, one of my memories that's really surprising about that first job was I remember going into the pharmacist, the head pharmacist was a bloke named Malcolm Andrews. He was a very serious, sensible sort of bloke, and he took me aside and he said, "Mark, you have to deliver, this prescription to Mrs. Montague." And I'm like, "Yes, okay." I was a very sensible boy, and so he gave me the address, and off I went on my bike. But before I went, he said to me, "Now she's going to ask you to do a few things, and you have to do them. You have to be on your best manners." So I had a bit of trepidation going to this house. So I went to this house. It was on the big hill, the top of town, 2-storey house, an old Victorian house, sort of run down. I think there were boards on the windows, like you see in the films. And I walked up on the porch, and the porch creaked, knocked on the door, and this little old lady comes out, old Mrs. Montague. And I was a bit nervous at this particular point. And she said, "Thank you for, what's your name?" And then she invited me inside. And I was a bit nervous because my parents had taught me, don't do these things. But I had Malcolm Andrews' words in my mind that I had to actually do my job properly. So I went inside, and she took me through this old house right into the back room and sat me down at the kitchen table. And at this point I was getting pretty nervous. And then what she went to do was, out of the cupboard, she got a whole packet of biscuits and she got a big glass of lemonade, and she sat them down, and that's what I had to do. I had to sit there and drink the lemonade and eat the biscuits. This went on for a couple of months. Every week I went to old Mrs. Montague's house to eat these biscuits and drink the lemonade, and I must say it was one of the best introductions I've ever had to the world of work. It was a surprise I wasn't expecting. I learnt from someone a whole world of things about swimming and about the careers that she'd had. So I think the lesson that I got in that was, in particular, that sometimes the thing that you might fear or that you might feel nervous about can actually be a really enriching experience. However, that was my first time that the job that I had didn't exist anymore, was no longer around. So my second job is related to the picture that you can see on the screen up there. That's what they call a toast rack tram, and I actually worked on that tram. Now, for those of you who may be around a little bit longer than some of the younger people in the room, I'd like you to put your hand up if you know what a connie is. Okay, there's the generation gap right there. For those who don't know what a connie is a tram conductor, and my job was a tram conductor. So what I had to do was I had to go up and down the tram and collect tickets from people, sell them and punch them, and make sure that people could get on and off with their prams, and that that everything ran well on the tram. It was really interesting on that tram that you saw earlier. When the tram got full, I had to stand on the running boards at the side of the tram in amongst all the cars. This was a time before occupational work health and safety existed. So tram conductors had been around for a long, long time, right back to the start of the 20th century, when the electric tram was first brought in. Electricity, can you imagine? Electric vehicles, we had them back then. Now, I was one of the last of the generation of tram conductors. In fact, if you look hard enough, you can find a picture of me on the front page of the Herald Sun, I think, going back as the last conductor in the state. The job was phased out due to technological disruption posed by dastardly ticketing machines, and we're all probably very familiar with my key cards right now. What this was the second time in my career, by the time I was about 18, in my early working life, that my career was disrupted by forces of change outside my control. It's interesting to note, though, that the tram conductor job that I took up in 1990, when I took that job up, the job I'm in now did not exist. After my short-lived career on trams, I studied arts, of all things. You should have seen my mother's face when I told her that I was studying arts. Came from a family of scientists and doctors. She thought that I was going to be destitute. I ended up majoring in history and sociology and photojournalism. It was also around that time that a new thing came along called the World Wide Web, which seemed to change everything. Now, you're going to see a photo of me. Can you see that hair? I had it once. It was great. So what you can see there is a computer, and I remember trying to convince my father about this amazing thing called email. The fact that you could actually send someone a message and it didn't have to go in the mail, you didn't have to put a stamp in it, you didn't have to write a letter, you could get a response instantly. He was sceptical, but now I can't get him off the computer. So I graduated during the recession, during the early to mid-90s, which was a really tough time for a former tram conductor armed with an arts degree. All my mother's fears could have come true. So I found employment managing a rather large business importing antiques and furniture from around the world. In particular, we were importing a lot of things from Indonesia at the time. However, after a few years of a very successful business, a brewing military conflict in East Timor meant an embargo on Indonesian imports. And this, coupled with a motor scooter injury in which my shoulder was removed from my body, meant that my heady days of hauling Indonesian furniture around were numbered. So that was the third time, that I was out of work and looking for something new to do. Another career bites the dust. So I did a stock take of my skills. I found that at university I'd learnt a thing called Photoshop, which was sort of, not very well known at the time. And I used those skills as a fallback position, and I picked up a lot of freelance work doing photo editing and digital imaging. And while I was doing that, I made a move to study a graduate diploma in computer science. This was followed later on by a graduate diploma in education, and I set my sights on becoming a secondary school teacher. Now, you'll see another photo of me just about to come up, and you can see I've still got hair. A little bit less at the front. My teaching career took me from the classroom to a stint as a school principal, as well as a side hustle as an education writer for Fairfax Media, and 10 years as a lecturer in education for pre-service teachers at La Trobe. These doors opened a wonderful opportunity for me in the Department of Education, working on a global project evaluating the future of education and then developing the tech schools for Victoria, which ultimately led me here to Melbourne Polytechnic. It's been a wonderful, exhilarating and at times scary ride. My career's been buffeted by forces outside my control, but for every challenge, every job, every closure and every dead end, there was an opportunity to be found. Further education and retraining was the key to unlocking these doors of opportunity. And I know that you've experienced that experience culminating in you sitting here today. For those of you who are taking your first steps in your career, or even the next step in your career, remember that the job you have in 10 or 20 years from now will not likely even exist today. And that's okay. Navigating disruption and career change can be tough, but it can also be amazing. That scary haunted house could end up with lemonade and biscuits. Be open, be curious, and be up for the adventure. Regardless of whether we are childcare workers, bricklayers, pastry chefs, artists, teachers, or even long-forgotten tram conductors, all of us are lifelong learners. From wherever you go from here, remember that you have what it takes to learn, to succeed, and to gain a qualification. You will adapt, you will evolve, you will grow, and you will be amazing. Trust me, you're ready for what happens next. Thank you.
Once again for Mark, ladies and gentlemen. What I love most about hearing Mark's story is that it's not dissimilar to almost everyone here up on stage tonight from Melbourne Polytechnic. All of the educators here have had vast careers that have had its ups and downs and gone through many, many changes. And it's going to be like all of you. We're all going to have bumps and different things that happen to us. And it's wonderful that Melbourne Polytechnic has such wonderful people that have done many things all around the world, and they've come here to share their knowledge with you. So have a round of applause for our panel up here tonight. Tonight, though, we are celebrating the achievements of 45 Melbourne Polytechnic graduates. Supporting the presentation announcement tonight is Dr. Jordan Winfield. Dr. Jordan Winfield is hiding behind this curtain here. He'll be reading your names. He can't see you, but he can hear you, so please make him feel welcome. Now the moment that you've all been waiting what feels like 10 years for. Let's commence the ceremony. First up tonight are graduates from the Department of Business, Advanced Manufacturing and Logistics. Please welcome Joanna Jackson, Manager of Business, Advanced Manufacturing and Logistics, to present the awards tonight.
The graduate for Diploma of Business is Joe Vegas. Please join me in congratulating them. The graduate for Diploma of Human Resources Management is Tatiana Gontsarievska. The graduate for Diploma of Project Management is Prasanthi Kasinathan. The graduates for Certificate 4 in Work, Health and Safety are Vineet Ambada. Raimondo Pariani. Please join me in congratulating them. The graduate, pardon me.
Thanks, Joanna. And another round of applause for all of the graduates who've just come up there now. How you guys? Are you doing okay? You hanging in there? How about you guys doing over there? Who's been waiting since 2019? They're looking at me like, just shut up and get on with it. It's all right, we'll do that. Please now welcome Gary Patterson, Manager of Food, Fibre and Animal Industries, to present the awards for the Department of Food, Fibre and Animal Industries, VET, and Department of Human Services and Education, VET.
The graduate for Certificate 4 in Commercial Cookery is Ineth Natalia Gazon Chikitsa. Please join me in congratulating them. The graduate for Diploma of Hospitality Management is Supun Virashana Jayamal Kirige. This student also completed Certificate 4 in Commercial Cookery. The graduates for Certificate 4 in Training and Assessment are Rizwan Farouk, Julie Sandhu. Please join me in congratulating them.
Thank you, Gary. And all of the graduates just then. Now, please welcome Melbourne Polytechnic's Chief... sorry, my apology, I jumped ahead there. Please now welcome Shane Wilkinson, Manager of Business and Construction Higher Education, to present their department awards.
The graduates for Bachelor of Business are Teleng K, Dorothy Ndanu Muli, Si Ning Wong. Please join me in congratulating them. The graduates for Bachelor of Hospitality Management are Malsha Pawani Gunathilaka Habara Kamura Lalage, Farida Fitria Isani, Akila Ruanga Tabru Kaludura, Hiruni Koshila Kodikara, Chui Y Lim, Glissa Gail Mangubat, MD Mustafiju Rahman, Daniel Alberto Revet. This student also completed Certificate 4 in Patisserie. Kessini Subramani Paniapen. Manjil Subedi. Anusha Tapa. Xiao Hong Singh. Please join me in congratulating them. The graduates for Bachelor of Information Technology are Punsisini Umedia Adhikari Murianselage, Faisan Ahmed, Forhad Ahmed, Imran Ali, Janith Lakpriya Amugoda Kankanamge Don, Shivam Bell, Ashish Bisht, Yin Ming Chan, Barbara Stefan da Silva Domingos, Dushan Madawa Dayananda. J. Maheshbai Desai. Kashara Dilan Disanayake Murianselage. Kyle Kelvin Fernandez. Please join me in congratulating them.
Thank you, Shane. And how about one more big round of applause for all of this evening's graduates? You're finally there after all these years. You should be feeling immensely proud of yourself. Now, as a special reward for your graduation and being so patient over the last couple of years, we have something very exciting. We're about to have tonight's guest speaker. So to formally welcome tonight's guest speaker, please welcome Melbourne Polytechnic's Chief Executive, Francis Coppolino.
Thank you, Ben. Our MC today is a media personality, Ben Murphy. Ben has made a name for himself as a world record-breaking comedy magician and illusionist. He now has his own national radio TV show and series Live from St Kilda with Ben Murphy. Ben knows a thing or two about the need for continuous learning. When COVID brought an abrupt end to his international live performance schedule, Ben had to pivot quickly. We look forward to Ben sprinkling a little magic here tonight, and please welcome Ben Murphy.
Thank you. That's really kind. Thank you, Francis. Absolute beautiful words. I'm so glad you read what I wrote really well. It's wonderful to be here. Part of my MC requirements was to get up here tonight and talk about one of my favourite topics, me. And explain to you all how after I graduated, like you all are tonight, that life immediately fell into place and all of my dreams and goals were instantaneous, just like yours will be when you walk out that door. No, the reality is far from that. At my age of 30, the learning, changes and pivots have never stopped, and I haven't actually arrived at my final destination. If you had told me when I was your age that I'd still be evolving, working different career paths and learning all the time, I think I would have wailed in despair. But I should have known because my dad told me from a young age, you never stop growing. He was a firm believer in constantly learning. In fact, when I was really little, my dad threw me in the lake. He thought throwing his son in the deep end and watching him struggle and gasp for breath was the fastest, surest way to learn. He was right. Not for me, but for him to learn CPR. He was pretty quick learning. So ever since I was a child, I had this dream that I wanted to be a star. And I found the start to my beginning of fame and fortune was by doing tricks. Not street corner, pretty woman, Richard Gere type tricks, but magic and illusion. I was obsessed with making the impossible look possible. A little bit like now when I look at my favourite pair of jeans after lockdown and think, I can still fit them. Yes, I wanted to create miracles. So starting out busking to performing at kids' birthday parties, then corporate events and awards nights, I had set out and started to piece together slowly my dream, step by step and learning each phase as I went. Every time I mastered a performance space, I had to reevaluate my work and modify it for the next. Performing in the street for coins and a hat at the end of the show is very different to being invited to perform for the royal family in Malaysia. The shows are slightly different. You have to adjust for this. And I learned pretty quickly that the best way to learn in any chosen field at all was to say yes to everything. Well, except to say yes to the sweet old lady at the airport when she asked you to carry her bags through customs. I should have said no to that. Say yes and worry about the how afterwards. The learning part is surprisingly easy. Grabbing opportunities and saying yes to the unknown when they swing past is really hard. So when you see them, just grab it and say yes. I was offered in my early 20s my very own show in the USA. The caveat was that I would perform the infamous Houdini water torture tank, a trick where the magician and performer is shackled by his feet, hung upside down, handcuffed, and lowered into a tank filled with water that is then padlocked from the outside. Yes, it's very funny. My laugh was a little bit different to that. It was more like, ha, and I had to shake my leg afterwards. But similar sort of thing. And the magician has to escape before he drowns. I was asked by the people in Vegas, can you do that trick? Yes, of course I can, I said. I'd never done anything remotely close to that trick, but I accepted the contract and started to learn how to escape upside down. I practiced by putting on a straitjacket and hanging from the monkey bars of the local playground, practicing being upside down. I Googled every way possible to slow my heart rate down, and I even practiced holding my breath in the bathtub face down at home. Just very weird stuff. But I wanted to do everything I could to prepare myself for the job I'd said yes to. Speaking of bathtubs, my mother-in-law last Christmas asked for something for the bath for Christmas, but she really hated the toaster I got her. The study paid off, and while I was over the US performing the infamous Houdini water torture tank, I broke the world record for the most escapes from this very deadly trick. Something that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't prepared to learn and be afraid. So whatever you do, always give 100%, unless you're donating blood. Upon returning to Australia, I was then offered another amazing opportunity, this time in China. I was asked, Ben, do you speak Mandarin? Yes, of course I do, I said. And I signed that contract faster than a toupee blown off in a hurricane, and I prepared for China. The problem was, I'd never been to China. The closest I had been was the sweet and sour pork at the Westfield Food Court. Let alone speak it, I had got myself in some deep problems. So I downloaded every language app I could. I enrolled in many short courses, and I had my script translated verbatim into Mandarin. This was a lot more difficult than I'd realized. But in the end, it gave me 8 years touring China, performing back and forth, performing night after night to rooms of 2,000 or more. I even had a tour on Mongolia where I had 2 primetime television specials. And the best part about the Chinese is the Chinese really love magic. They also really love buying my merchandise, which is really good because my merchandise is made in China for 52 cents each. And when I'm back in China, I sell it back for about $10 US. It's really, really good. I love it. I highly recommend it. I was having the absolute best time touring China, but after about 8 years, I wanted to push myself again. I wanted to try something that had nothing at all to do with magic and illusion. But the curse of an entertainer is you live gig to gig, paycheck to paycheck, and all of my gigs were taking me overseas, and they didn't allow me that opportunity to take a breath and try my hand at something new. So at the end of 2019, I decided I was going to retire from overseas touring and find a way to be successful here in Australia. So I signed my final contract, 18 months touring China. I thought that's long enough for me to go back and take some time to plan what I'm going to do when I return to Australia at the end of that 18 months, and also enough time for me to slowly say goodbye to the job that I'd known all my life. The tour was meant to start in March 2020. But of course, we all know what happened at that particular time of year, and it affected all of us. For me personally, I lost my contract. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. And I was suddenly and unexpectedly thrown into unemployment with no real-world skills that could help me make money in the new world. And if one more person told me, just pivot, I was going to lose my mind. I was gutted, depressed, and completely and utterly lost for a good few months. Like crying daily and not able to get out of bed depressed. I was in a really bad state. Eventually, it dawned on me that all of the things I wanted to do at the end of the 18 months, I was actually able to start immediately. I really wanted to try my hand at radio, something that I'd wanted to do for years and years. So I enrolled myself in several courses: media law, reading for radio, creating radio and podcast content, and a whole lot more. I really loved learning new things. I volunteered at Vision Australia Radio, reading magazines, which then transferred to me having my own chat show on Joy 94.9, where I got to be more of my silly self and interview famous people and have a lot of fun. And I was actually surprisingly really good at interviewing celebrities. And I loved it. So I started a video/podcast series and independently started contacting these well-known faces and begging them to please give me a bit of time via Zoom and allow me to create some content. One guest, Gretel Colleen, the former host of Big Brother, told me that I could have a maximum of 15 minutes of her time. We ended up chatting on record for about 45 minutes and then another 30 or so off. She told me that this is what I should be doing, that regardless of what I'd lost, she thought that I'd finally found my actual calling. She said that the way I'd really researched her, and I wasn't just asking questions, but having a thoughtful conversation that was still really fun and light, a skill she said most interviewers can't do. They can just follow the script and stick with that. So she ended up hooking me up with a whole bunch of other celebrities that she knew and provided me with some great episodes for many more weeks to come. Channel 31, a community station here in Victoria, had seen these video podcasts and they asked me if they could take them as they were and air them on their platform. I thought about it and I thought that what I really wanted to do was a proper TV chat show with guests in studios sitting on the couch and live performances. I wanted a platform where fellow variety entertainers could perform and showcase their talents. We don't really have that in Australia, unless you count Australia's Got Talent, but having a senior citizen, sword-swallowing, BMX-riding, tattooed gymnast with an acrobatic dog from Nimbin, competing against a cute-as-a-button 4-year-old in an Elsa costume singing Let It Go, doesn't feel like a fair comparison to me. So I came up with my absolute dream show and I presented that to Channel 31 and said, hey, can I do this? Yes, of course you can. So I signed on for 13 episodes. Again, I was in a pickle. That unwanted green atrocity on any McDonald's burger. I'd kind of bluffed my way in. I actually had no cameras, no crew, no editing experience, zero experience producing and hosting my own TV show, no money to make it, and I was now legally bound to 13 episodes at a TV station. So research and learn I did. Phone calls, meetings, GoFundMes, begging people for their time and advice consumed me. And actually, here's the thing I learned really quickly. If you need advice from a professional and you approach anyone in power or a place of knowledge with respect, respect for A, knowing who they are and what they themselves have achieved, and B, what it is you're approaching them about and what you want from them, almost everyone, no matter how famous they are, is going to offer you a little bit of time and advice. It's amazing. It's something you think would be impossible, but just call these people up, reach out to them, be polite, and all of them are going to offer their advice. It's incredible. So I started making a TV series with zero experience of making a TV show, but a wealth in putting on a show. In my mind, putting on a show on TV was exactly the same as putting on a magic show. Crews, performers, the same thing. The only thing that was different was the medium. My honesty and blind faith in what I wanted to achieve was admired, and people were excited to see if I could pull it off, and I'm sure some were curious to see if it would fail miserably. But I'd won most people over by being prepared, kind, enthusiastic, and always confident without being cocky or arrogant. Before long, I had a venue to film in, a production company, 7 cameras, sound equipment, LED screens, graphics, logos, music, a team of 36, and almost all of it was free and volunteers. Pretty mind-blowing stuff. Those initial 13 half hours were a hit, and immediately another 13 episodes were booked. The season was extended to an hour for each episode. However, at the same time I just thought that I'd start series 2, I was then offered my very own breakfast radio show on ABC in Perth. The ABC, Money, Perth, sounded very, very exciting. I was then also asked to return to China and finish the tour that unfortunately I wasn't able to do due to some circumstances happening in the world. And for that tour, it'll be over soon, it's okay. So I had some big decisions to make. Do I go to China for more money than I was initially offered? Do I go to the ABC? Or do I take a gamble on a community TV station and try and get my show off the ground? We filmed season 2 this year with a live studio audience. We had publicists contacting us asking if their clients could be on the show. No longer was I begging them to appear. People had seen series 1 as we were getting over 120 to 150,000 views per week, which is up there with Studio 10 and various shows on TV. Not bad for a little station. And we ended up with guests from Miriam Margolyes, Vanessa Amorosi, Dr. Carl from Neighbours, Toddy Goldsmith, The Real Housewives of Melbourne, Isaiah Firebrace, Peking Duck, and a whole lot more. We also got on a lot more platforms. Channel 31 was where we'd started, but we also ended up on 44 in Adelaide, Face TV in New Zealand, we were on in Fiji and Vanuatu, and on Foxtel. Even though I was initially only airing on a community platform, I'd set out to make a commercial standard program. I wanted something big and was commercial ready. It paid off. We're currently in negotiations with a commercial TV station here in Australia, along with a couple of streaming services who are also keen to pick up my show. In the last year, 26 episodes is what I've now produced and aired. I've personally booked over 60 guests, 42 variety acts, 26 bands, 52 game show contestants with a show that didn't exist, not even in my mind a year ago. I took the worst thing that happened to me and happened to everyone. We were all impacted, the loss of my job and income, and I used that time to learn. Yes, I had those dark days where it all felt genuinely impossible. But if I just learned as much as I could each day and I surrounded myself with warm, lovable, talented people that believed in me and what I had to offer, I knew it would be okay. I also knew that if I was asking others to help me, I had to ensure that I had something to offer them in return. I kept and continue to keep an eye out for them any way I can to return the favour, and I ensured that each day they showed up to help me for free. I was prepared, ready, well-informed, always the first to arrive and last to leave. Being professional was the very least I could do. And just a side note, with one of the commercial stations that I'm speaking to, I've managed to get in the contract that all of the volunteers that helped me set up that show will also be coming to me to paid positions. So I think that's pretty exciting. Having a little bit of faith and working as a team is a wonderful thing. Though the future is not 100% certain, I know that if I back myself and am prepared to listen and learn continuously, I will always be on the path I'm meant to be. So if someone offers you a job that you can't do, but you really, really want to do it, say yes, and then worry about the how and why after. Then go and learn it. If someone says you're crazy, you can't do that, say yes, I can, and go and do it. Learn it. Prove them wrong. And if someone asks you to carry their bags through customs, say no. I really can't stress that enough. Believe in yourself and back yourself by always preparing yourself. Put in the work and say yes to making your dreams a reality. I really do hope you've enjoyed what I had to say, and if not, I hope that you feel really well rested after a 10-minute nap. To summarise, if I can achieve what I have, each and every one of you can and will also, if only you take the time to continually learn. Thank you. I'd like to once again congratulate all of our graduates tonight. It's an incredible effort, and you all should be incredibly proud of yourself. I'd also like to thank Dr. Jordan Winfield for reading the names of our graduates this evening. He's back there. Make him feel welcome as well. Also, a big round of applause to Cindy, our Auslan interpreter. A big thank you to our pre-show entertainment out in the foyer earlier this evening. Please now join us in the foyer for the next hour for a post-graduation celebration. You'll meet the wonderful Melbourne Polytechnic staff and other graduates and their guests. And a final reminder that photography will be taking place on level 4 for all of those who have some bookings. It's a thank you and a good night from me. Please all stand for the academic procession. You did it, you're all graduated. Congratulations. Go and have a drink, celebrate, and be immensely proud of yourselves. Good work, congratulations.